to be looking at today. What's commonly known as the Aaronic Blessing. This is how you bless. Spock is doing this little sheen hand symbol there. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at is, as always, dealing with keywords in our verse or verses. We're going to look at also be looking at what this the kind of contextual significances of this in terms of what they was dealing with, you know, when they were hearing these words, spiritual significance, you know, how we can look at it and understand it and learn from it now, and looking at connections in the apostolic writings. Okay, so if we can read Numbers 6:22 through 27, we'll go from there.
And Yahweh spoke to Moshe, saying, "Speak to Aaron and his sons, saying, This is how you bless the children of Israel. Say to them, Yahweh bless you and guard you. Yahweh make his face shine upon you and show favor to you. Yahweh lift up his face upon you and give you peace. Thus they shall put my name on the children of Israel, and I myself shall bless them."
Okay, very good. So we see here what we know of as what's called the Aaronic blessing, or the priestly blessing. So what we're going to do here is look at what we have highlighted here is really what we're going to be dealing with here. So let's look at our keywords. I don't know if you're going past them. Okay, so right. Okay, so go to the next one there. So what we're going to be looking at here is what we see in the Hebrew here, the actual blessing, right? It says Yabareka, Yahweh Vayishmereka, Ya'er Yahweh Panav Alecha Vikuneka, Yisa Yahweh Panav Alecha Vayasem Lecha Shalom. That's what we're going to be looking at here. These the actual Hebrew words, the blessing and the significances that go along with it, right? So we're going to start off with how it starts off here. Yabarecha Yahweh, which is Yahweh bless you. That's what this would say here in the Hebrew. It says what this says is he bless you, basically, but he is Yahweh. So that's what this is. Yabarecha Yahweh bless you, right? So we're going to look at this word bless. Barak. So when we go back to the other, if we go back to the previous slide, right, when we see the word here, we can see in the middle of this word, the barak there, the bait, the resh, and the kaf there. So with the yod and the final kaf there, we have this the prefix and the suffix here, but the base of the word is going to be these three middle letters there. Okay, go ahead forward to what we're looking at. Barak. which in the Hebrew is, I meant to say in the Strong's is Hebrews 1288. The word is Barak, kind of like our old president, right? Barack Obama. The primitive root is to kneel, by implication, to bless Elohim as an act of adoration, and vice versa, man as a benefit. Also, by euphemistically, this word can be used to curse, even though it literally means the opposite of curse. But again, euphemistically, it can be used to curse Elohim or the king as treason. And then we have these other kind of definitions here that's going along with it next. So Barak is a verb, again, meaning to bless, to kneel, salute, to greet. The verb derives from the noun that is translated as knee, and perhaps suggests the bending of the knee in blessing. Okay, next. So if we look at this word here, this word abrek, we can see the similarities between abrek and barak, right? We see how that's the same word, basically with a aleph at the beginning. This word here is a verb meaning to bow the knee or make way. The word occurs only in Genesis 41:43. It is possibly a verb of 4 letters in an imperative form, meaning to bow the knee. It designates the homage to be paid towards Joseph in Egypt, and that's referring to this next slide here, which is actually Genesis 41:43, where it says, and he had him ride in the second chariot which he had, and they cried about before him, bow the knee. They were crying out this word here, bow the knee, and he set him over all the land. So again, if we go back to that previous slide, this word actually, this abrek word is actually transliterated really from the Coptic language, the Egyptian language. And when they were in a verse that we referenced there in terms of the people, bowing to Joseph as at the request of Pharaoh, this word abrek is saying what they were chanting, what they were doing, bowing the knee. They were doing this action that was a representation of the power that was being bestowed unto Joseph at the time by the Pharaoh, where Joseph was basically the second in command under the Pharaoh. Okay, and again, this word that has the same structure as the word that we're looking at, Barak, which is again to bless. Okay, go to the next one, where it says, and they cried before him, bow the knee. That is his guard that attended him when he rode out in his chariot, called to the people as they passed along to bow the knee to Joseph as a token of veneration and respect, or they proclaimed him Abrek, which Onkelos, who is a ancient commentators on the scripture, paraphrases, this is the father of the king. And so Jarki, this other ancient commentator, who observes that Rech signifies a king in the Syriac language, and this agrees with what Joseph himself says, that Elohim have made him a father to Pharaoh. So looking at this word again, that we're looking at the word Barak. But when we look at this here, Abarek, where we can see Av, this father, and Rek here in the Syriac language, which is, can be connected to these kind of Semitic types of languages, where this is having this, where this saying that this word signifies king. So you have father and you have king in this word bless. And again, looking at what we're thinking of as blessed, or we're talking about Yahweh blessing us, the one who is on high, not bending down to us, but bending down for us. In other words, bending down to be able to deal with us. If I'm like some big full-grown individual and I want to deal with my little 2 foot tall child, I have to bend down in order to deal with her, right? So you have the idea of someone who's up, who's coming down, and coming down with gifts. So we can see all of these things inside of this word Barak. Okay, go to the next one.
So it's like, so when it's talking about bowing down, it's not talking about him like bowing down to us.
Well,
like as far as him worshiping us,
right?
He's bowing down because he's on high and we're on low.
Right. So it could be looked at from both ways, though, in terms of blessing. If he's blessing us, he's got to bow down in order to even deal with us. But when we're blessing him, or if we're even receiving his blessing, we have to also, understand who Yahweh is, and we have to be made, bend our knee to him to receive the gift. So you have a bending of the knee. Giving the gift will be the Most High, and then you have the bending of the knee, receiving the gift, which is going to be us, right? So here, let's look at this. Go to the next one, as we can look at some of these things, because when we look at the fact that the ancient, at the end of this, right, you have the open palm, right? So the open palm can really give or it can receive, right? The open palm can give or receive. So when we look at Barak, the word Barak, when we have this idea of bending at the knee to drink from a pond or to present a gift, right? That's what we see with the word Barak. So when you think about, if you're bending at the knee to drink from a pond, you have to reach out and receive from the pond, right? But then you have to give the water to your mouth.
Pull your hands up too.
Right. So you have both ideas present when you're dealing with this whole concept of bending at the knee to drink from a pond, because you have to first receive the water from the pond in the palm and then transmit that into the mouth. So you have the idea of receiving and giving. So again, even though we look at this and see this idea of bending at the knee, bending down low, when we look at Yahweh towards us, we know that he's not, he's not bending down to us.
Like he's not.
He's bent, right? He's bending down for the purposes of
relationship.
Yes, and dealing with us from on high.
It's almost like, Yeshua coming here, humbling himself, becoming a man, to redeem us.
Yes. Well, it's exactly that. That's exactly what that is. When we look at Yeshua and the fact that when he talks about in John in the 17th chapter, where he talks about restoring the glory that he had before he came to the earth, restoring that glory is dealing with him going back to the place from which he came. In other words, in order to come, he had to, as you say, he had to humble himself. He had to divest himself of, a degree of his glory, of his goodness. He shed off some of that goodness in order to come down and deal with us. So he had to make himself low to deal with us.
Yeah. I mean, just think about, here he is, humbling himself, allowing himself to be actually persecuted by beings that,
or nothing.
Yeah, right. And not only that, like, that are part of like his creation, you know what I mean? Being in that humble state to allow them to, mock him, pull his beard off his face, put a crown of thorns on his head. I mean, just imagine here he is coming down to show you love, and this is how you greet, this person who has so much, glory.
Yeah, it's amazing to me, because just even you talking about that even for him, like why, what are we that he's even mindful of us?
Mm-hmm.
Like that he's even going to think about us. You know what I mean? And so for him to even look down upon us and even think about dealing with us is you can see that whole concept of him reaching down and giving to us, and and also receiving blessing from us when he comes down. Like Tony was saying, our response should be one to adore him, adoration, as opposed to causing him grief.
Yeah.
When he comes down, when he shouldn't be like, why did I go down there?
Right.
It should be like, he bends down and he receives adoration from us.
Yeah, very good. So as we're looking, okay, this is very good. So as we're looking, we can actually kind of look at these meanings of what this word means, and what how we can really gain a better understanding of what it is that is being said. When we look at this thing that some people say, at least every week.
You said it every week.
Well, yeah, but many people do. Many people say this blessing, multiple times, at least once a week. But thinking about what we're dealing with in terms of, go to the next one, dealing with this idea that we see, the idea that is within this word as it pertains to Elohim is giving from on high. And not only giving from on high in terms of how it pertains to Elohim, but in terms of us receiving from on high, right? He's giving and we're receiving. So we're talking about anything that we could think about that actually comes from goodness is good, right? So when we talk about the idea of receiving this, and Chris, when you was talking about Yeshua's response or lack thereof to his treatment when he was going through what he was going through, in terms of the realization that Yahweh in the flesh dealing with his creation, but kind of in a concealed way, knowing that, you know, I made you, and this is what you doing. This is what you doing to me. This is how you treating me, and I made you, right? Shalom.
The ultimate form of slapping the face.
Yeah. So without knowing what it is that he's doing, blessing us, without knowing that he's coming, is when you think about it in the picture that we're looking at, right? If he's Yahweh's bending down to offer us a gift, and then we're just slapping the gift out of his hand, right? That's what we talking about, right? We seeing Yahweh bending down to us to give us this wonderful thing, and we saying, I don't want that garbage.
It's interesting because if you think of the mindset of most people today, they're ungrateful of just the gifts their own mother and fathers tried to give them. Like you see it all the time, kids, crying and throwing the temper tantrum just because they don't get the gift that they wanted. It's not what they want. And even
you giving me some pro kids. I want some Jordans.
yeah. Or even husband and wife, a husband or might not have the ability to provide, all of those things that their wife fantasizes over, and now she's upset with him and treating him as like a dirtbag just because he can't afford to, give that gift that she wants.
Right. Exactly.
It's like the spirit in the world right now.
Yeah. But when we think about it, at the end of the day, what we talking about? We talk about Yahweh offering his blessings, and the people who's supposed to be receiving that blessing, turning away from it, slapping it down. But in terms of the best case scenario, what we're dealing with here in terms of Yahweh blessing you, what we're talking about again is Yahweh bending down and offering us his goodness. I guess it's not that important, but since I thought about it, I do want to talk about it. If we go back to, let's see here, that 6th slide, right past the keywords.
Is that changing on the iPad?
No, he's doing it manually.
On the 6th.
Yeah. Okay, so something that we see that I wanted that we think about in the Hebrew, you can't really tell, and it's you can kind of see it only because it's kind of orientated in that centerly kind of a way, but there is a kind of symmetry to this blessing in terms of looking at it. When we look at this,
they don't see the arrows.
Well, yeah, they don't, but they can still look at it. So when you look at the first line is 3 words. 3 words. The second line is 5 words. And the last line is 7 words. Right? So it progresses. There's a progression that we see by 2 as it goes up, 2 to the next one, 2 to the next one. But
2 letters on each side.
You're trying to say it's making a pyramid?
I'm not saying it's making a pyramid. I'm saying if you look at it, it looks like it is making a pyramid. But what I'm saying is that there's a progression that's going on in terms of the words that was being given, in terms of starting off with 3 words. The next one progresses by 2 words, right? And you have 5 and then 7. Also in the progression, as there's a thing that's given first in terms of, there's 2 components to each of the lines also, even though it seems like there's more because we're looking at the fact that, 5 words is but it's still only giving you 2 components, and we'll look through that. But I'm saying you have the 3 divisions and you have these 2 components to each, and the second component kind of builds on the first thing. So the first thing we looked at was the fact that Yahweh blesses, which is going to be that first component of the first line.
I think you got to point to it on there, Tony, because you have the arrow on the screen.
I know, but
it's really hard to
I can't really point behind it. I don't really see what's going on. But okay, so what I'm saying is that just by looking at it, you can kind of see the progression. But I'm saying as we go through it, I want us to think about the progression as we go. Let's just say that. Okay, so where was we? We was on number 14.
Before we moved on, I wanted to talk about how the definition of Barak can mean cursing too, right?
Euphemistically, yeah.
Right. And so
let's did they put a actual instance with that? Where was that at?
It was in slide 8.
I see it. I was just gonna look in here and see if sometimes they put the actual verses that go with. But go ahead.
I was just thinking, like, because President Barack Obama, he constantly blasphemed the Torah. He made fun of different laws, and it was like a constant downgrading and blaspheme of the Holy Scriptures. And so I think this name is kind of interesting, that it could mean blessing and curse, and that his name was Barak, and he did a lot of blasphemous things while he was the president of the United States.
Yeah,
that's a new conspiracy right there.
Yeah,
Barak.
I mean, it's very interesting.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Blasphemy.
I'm just trying to see. Look in here. Look at this 1288 and see if it brings up the connection with curse, any verses there. Yeah, I think that that is interesting. I think that when we look at this kind of society that we're in, it's mostly curses that we dealing with. You know what I mean? There's something that could be a blessing could also, be a curse. We
like there's always that component with it.
Yeah, we're in a place really that it affords us freedoms that other places doesn't give us, but at the same time there's a lot of kind of things that go along with these freedoms. But you're right, it is kind of interesting that we have, but again, people speaking about Barack, Obama people want to make him out to be the Messiah and all of this, but at the end of the day, he's a U.S. president. You know what I mean? It's just like there's only so much that that a president can do. You know what I mean?
That's
Period.
related to the other presidents.
Well, yeah, he's not. He has no connection with us at all. I mean, you give delusional people a crumb, and they think they got the whole loaf of bread.
Okay, so let's go. If you can find that, we'll come back to it. We'll go to.
They have verses here, but none of these verses actually is using Barak. I don't know why not.
In regards to curse.
Here goes one. Here goes one here. Job 1 verse 5.
Yeah. What's it say? Hold on.
Ready?
Go.
All right. Job chapter 1 verse 5. And it was so when the days of their feasting were gone about that Job sent and sanctified them and rose up early in the morning and offered burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, it may be that my sons have sinned and cursed, that word is Barak, God, in their hearts. Thus did Job continually. So that word cursed, have sinned and cursed, is the word Barak.
Mm-hmm. So it's translated there as cursed.
That's translated as cursed, but the Hebrew word is Barak.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what you just did. Did you just hit something?
Did I hit something?
Yeah, you did. Okay, so as that's loading up,
hit the button.
Yeah, you did. Okay, so
So that's the one verse here. There's a couple more verses.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
verse 11, I don't know.
Of the same chapter?
The same chapter. Yep. But he put forth thine hand now and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And that word curse is the same thing.
Barak. Yeah. So
You want it, there's a whole section in here. Okay.
So if you bend that back, you're gonna mess up the binding. It's so old. Okay, so again, that was when we look at this word again, dealing with the idea of a bending down and presenting gifts. A gift doesn't always have to be something that's good necessarily.
It's not always something
it's
you
something
want.
That you're getting.
It's not always something that you want. Sometimes people want to give me stuff and I'm like, I don't want this.
Yeah.
It might be something you need.
It might be something good too. It's just that I don't want it.
Yeah.
Like an iPad. They're giving you an iPad for free.
Okay, so let's keep going here. 16.
I don't know why you said that.
Slide number 16 is Vayishmerecha. Vayishmerecha. And so again, when we look at this Vayishmerecha, that vav is going to be and. That vav, that first vav, there is and. The yod is given us, is causing us to say he will do something. He, in this case, will keep, and then the final kaf at the end is giving us the idea of you, right? So this is saying and he keep you by Yishmerecha. The root is the sheen, the mem, and the resh. You see the root of this word here, the sheen, the mem, and the resh. Okay. So go to the next one. Our word is shamar. And you see that there, the sheen, the mem, and the resh. Shamar, which is to keep. Properly to hedge about as with thorns. That is guard, generally to protect, attend to, beware, be circumspect, take heed to self, keep or keeper or keep self, mark, look narrowly, observe, preserve, regard, reserve, save self, wait for, watch, so on and so forth. So this idea of keeping, this idea of guarding, and all of the things that go along with it. You think about if you want to protect something, it's saying hedge about as with thorns, right? With thorns, I just came from the prison last night, right? And they got some metal thorns, right? Stop doing that. It's that metal thorns is barbed wire, right? Because they want to keep the people in. Right? What's the same?
They want to keep us from going up there too.
Well, ain't nobody trying to get into the prison. Right? Not that way. Not over the fence.
You wouldn't think.
Not over the fence anyway. You know what I mean? You can. There's other things you could do. But you definitely.
I didn't even like parking to let you get out the car while we was out there. I
know you couldn't wait to get out of it. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye. You're like, wait. Like I'm going in the front door. I'm going in and I can come back out. You know what I mean? But the idea of shamar, hedging, right? There's a guarding, there's a protecting, doing the things that's necessary in order to keep things that harm out, right? So this is the ideas what we're thinking about in terms of shamar. Now with this blessing, if we're talking about this blessing where Yahweh is again the he who is keeping, right? We are looking for his protection, right? And he's offering us to. So again, when we look at how I said in these three parts of the blessing, the first part being the fact that Yahweh bless you and keep you. Yahweh bend down and have this gift for you. One of the things that we're talking about here, him bending down and blessing you with, is his protection, right? He's bending down and offering his protection for you, right? And receiving this blessing, we're receiving his protection around us.
Yeah.
Okay, go to the next one.
Go
ahead.
I was going to say that something that I think about when we talk about shamar is how normally if you have a king, the people are the ones that guard the king. Like they get all the soldiers and everybody. They're dispensable. So, they got to line up and surround the king. And then if somebody comes in and attacks, they got to go through the people in order to get to the king.
Pawns.
Yeah, they're like pawns. Like, one of them dies, it's not that big of a deal. But when we're looking at the Aharonic Blessing, it's like Yahweh's the one who's in the front and guarding us, the people. So it's like the opposite. The king is guarding the people as opposed to the people is guarding the king.
Well, I think you could probably look at that in two ways, though, really, because even though when you think about it like that, in terms of people guarding the king, the one who's in control, the one who's in power is going to set the things in place so that he will be protected. So at the end of the day, he's still putting the guard in place in order to, right. So let's look at this, because we'll see an example of that halfway down through. But I think you may be bringing up something good, but I'm saying that it could be looked at in both ways. So if we look at this here, where it talks about a verb meaning to watch, to keep, to preserve, to guard, be careful, watch over, watch carefully over, to be one's guard. So the verb means to watch, to guard, to care for. When we look at Adam and Eve, Adam and Hava were to watch over and care for the Garden of Eden, where the Most High placed them, right? Where they were supposed to shamar, probably says shamar in Genesis 2:15. Bereshit 2:15.
Wait, which one? He put them into the garden to dress it. Oh, to keep
and
it.
to keep it,
Yeah,
which would
that's
be
right.
to shamar it,
That's
to
right.
guard it.
The first one, which is interesting, is to dress it. That's abad, which is we just talked about that last week, I think. To work.
Right. So one of the things that I say in regards to this whole thing with the Garden of Eden and in regards to this shamar word, one of the things that I bring up is the fact that when we deal with this tree of the knowledge of good and evil, if Yahweh said, don't eat of this tree, and in the time that you eat of this tree, you're gonna die. And the Most High has given me these instructions to work the garden and to keep it or guard it or preserve it or to be careful about it or to watch carefully over it. Part of watching carefully over this space would be, he was supposed to, I'm saying he's supposed to cut that thing out. He's supposed to take the axe to that thing and get rid of it. At very least, put a fence around that thing
With some barbed wire.
And tell that woman, you better stay away from that thing. Because he was supposed to be keeping the garden, right? When there are things that present dangers and hazards to our well-being, part of keeping is blocking off those hazards, right? Blocking off those things that are hazardous to our situation, right? That's part of shamar. That's part of this word here, to keep. People keep, they put fences up to keep things out.
That's why I tell his kids shut the gate so no animal can get into our yard.
Yeah.
Kind of like that mouse.
Well, the mouse probably got there.
Yeah, mouse probably got there from like a bird or something, or them cats
Yeah.
that could go under the fence.
Yeah.
Or that rabbit. I don't think the rabbits ain't carnivorous, so they're not bringing no mice around. But
a cat will.
Yeah. But if we had a fence that reached all the way to the ground that you couldn't go under, right, it's going to stop things from coming in. Keep kids from running out on the street and to keep bad stuff from coming in. So when we think about this idea of shamar, where we're looking for Yahweh to guard, and we're going back to the garden in terms of the command that was given to Adam to keep the garden, to shamar it. When that thing happened, when that temptation happened, when that deception happened with Chava, we can't blame the woman. We can't blame the woman.
You gotta blame the snake.
No, you gotta blame the man. You gotta blame the man because he was supposed to keep that garden. It was his responsibility to keep that garden. it was his responsibility to maintain righteousness. He said the woman took the thing and like, man, she's I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get another one of these. You know what I mean? I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm just gonna go ahead with what she doing. And he just fell into the whole situation, right? But at the end of the day, what we're looking at is him not keeping the garden. Okay, so if we keep on going, if we look at the word, can suggest the idea of protecting, and this is what you brought up in terms of David, who was the king, right? Gave orders to keep Absalom safe, right? So it's an example of David's giving specific orders to keep a specific individual safe. But at the end of the day, the king, is putting all things in order. So when we're looking at this again, in terms of Yahweh being the one who's keeping, Yahweh in this regard, in terms of when we talk about him keeping us, he keeps, how is it that he keeps us? How is it that the Most High keeps his people?
The Holy Spirit.
Well, yeah, now I guess we could say through his Ruach HaKodesh. But I would say initially we dealing with the idea of what his keeping is his keeping is his Torah. So he gives his words, his Torah, his law, statutes, and commands to keep us. And then with the things that he has given to keep us, we use that to keep us. Right? He gives us the thing that is made to keep us. And when we have it,
Operating.
Right. We keep ourselves with the thing that he's given to keep us, which is his. Because the only way that we can keep his commands or shamar his commands, right, is by what? By doing his commands. But we have to look back to where they even come from, which is from the Most High. Okay, so
I was thinking also that we have the Torah, and then at that time they had the judges, the elders, who enforced the Torah.
Right.
So you would.
So they're just doing these things that's put in place by who? By the King,
Yahweh,
by the Most High, by Yahweh. So they're following the things out in order to keep order, but Yahweh set the order to begin with.
And that applies also for Adam and Hava, because he set that order. He told Adam what to do.
Right.
And now it's for him to kind of guard that command to do it, to follow through with it.
Right. And the same thing is true for us walking in the commands of Yahweh. Yahweh puts in his people now the Ruach HaKodesh, which leads us into all truth, which leads and guides us in the character of Yahweh. And again, the character of Yahweh, we talk about the character of Yahweh is his commands. But we still have to walk in that spirit. When we walk in that spirit, we're able to be kept. We're able to be preserved. Right? But when we look again at this blessing here, when we talking about Yahweh bless you and keeping you, this, like all other things, we're able to see the new covenant at the time when it's given, the way that the people were kept, the way that Yahweh comes down and offers his gifts. What did Yahweh come down and offer to Israel? The covenant. And literally gave it over to Moses and put it in his hand. And he received it. Literally. So when we look at this, we're able to also see the new covenant in this. When we're talking about Yahweh blessing you and keeping you, well, how's he going to do it? He's doing it through his law, statutes, and commandments. He's doing it through him giving you this gift and causing you to go ahead and do it. Okay, let's go to the next one here.
But the church doesn't seem to shamar
No.
that these days.
No. And we talked about this a little bit at the end last time in terms of when we look at what we know as Christianity, they have they signed a contract and they never didn't read the fine print.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know, all the things that go along with the thing that they signed up for. Which, it don't matter if you didn't read the contract, you still in breach of it, even though you didn't read it.
Right.
You can't say, well, I didn't read it. Well, you still in breach of contract because you signed it.
Right.
You're the one who walked up to the front of that church that Sunday and told them people that you was gonna make JC your Lord and Savior, right?
Yeah, baptized and everything.
You're the one who said it. You said it. You said he was going to be your master.
That's with your mouth.
You opened up your mouth and said he was going to be your boss. But when you said that, you didn't think about what it really was that he was going to ask for you to be doing. And then you didn't do it, but you still guilty. The guilt's still upon you.
You didn't know you was going to have to take your Daisy Dukes off.
Stop
wearing them to church.
No.
They didn't tell you that part.
Yeah, they didn't tell you that part.
Yeah, so there's definitely so again, we think about the word shamar. We know that Yahweh is the one who's keeping, right? But how's he keep? He's given us the law, statutes, and commandments for us to keep. So he's telling you how to keep. But that doesn't remove him from the equation because it's his laws and statutes and commandments that he's given, in order to do the thing. So at the end of the day, it's still him doing it because he told you what to do. He's giving you the tools in order to do it. You trying to ask me something? What?
I absolutely learned that lesson. Never sign something when you don't read it.
Yeah, exactly.
I learned that from my soccer. I didn't know exactly what it was.
You didn't know what you was getting. You didn't know what you was getting yourself into.
No.
When that person sat up there and told you had to run around that field all them times and roll in the mud, you was like, I didn't sign up for this. But yes, you did.
People sign up for the army. They don't military. They don't know. What
When they deal with that first 6 weeks of boot camp, and they sit up there.
What I give myself?
Business commercial, right? Business commercial is Quicket Loans,
Yeah.
right? And then they always show black people, right? On this part where they talk about not reading the contract. You don't got to worry about all of those contracts and reading all of that stuff. With Quicket Loans, it's as quick as pushing a button. And you always got the black people when it talks about not reading. You know what I mean? Like, you ain't got to read none of that stuff. You can just click a button. And the black people just like, yeah.
Wow.
They don't want to read the fine print.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very important.
I mean, when we sign up for, to be on his team, then it's you really gotta. I don't think you can actually fully know what's going to be required of you before you get to the point of it being required of you.
Yeah.
Sometimes it can be
Yeah,
hard
you don't
thing
know. Right.
that you got to do.
Yeah, I just don't understand how you can think that, there's just no rules.
Yeah.
Like, well, how do you, like, what? So what do you got to do? All you got to do is believe. That's all. That's it.
It's a mental thing. It's not actual.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
Believe.
Yeah. Okay, so let's look at some of this on this here. We're talking about this Hebrew word that is we're still talking about shamar. That means to maintain, observe something for a purpose. To maintain or to observe something for a purpose, and it's followed by another verb indicating the purpose or manner, as in the following examples. Israel was to observe what? The laws of Yahweh, so as to do them. Balaam had to observe accurately what he had been charged with. The prophet that was, selling his secrets to the enemy. And Israel was responsible to keep the way of Yahweh and walk in it. So the keeping is connected to something, right? So when we think about the idea, again, as we've been saying, of shamaring, the way that we are kept, the thing that's connected to the keeping is us. In regards to this Aharonic blessing, Yahweh blessing us and keeping us. But we had to think about how it is that we are kept. And again, as I said, that is through his words. Okay, so go to the next one. Ya'er, he shine. He, the he in this place is Yahweh, not as if Yahweh's in this word, but the he that's being spoken of is Yahweh. So this literally is saying he shine. He shine. Ya'er. He shine. Okay, so go to the next one. I'm thinking about this idea of shining, right? It's a primitive root to be causatively or make luminous, literally and metaphorically. Metaphorically, when we see that X, when we look at the Strongs and we see that X before something, that's talking about something that's metaphoric. Whenever you see that multiplication sign before something, it's giving you the idea of a metaphor. So that right there, the break of day, shine, the break of day. When you think about a sunrise and you see that light that begins to come out from the horizon, it's coming forth, that light breaking forth. It's, well, yes, it is beautiful, but you're talking about the coming of light, the causative action of light being made manifest. To set on fire. When you start a fire, it's that light that's coming out, right? That light is kind of that beginning of light, right? Or to shine. Or the next one, that word or is the word or. The verb meaning to give light, to shine, to become light, or day, right? The heavenly bodies provide light. Fire provides light. Lightning shines forth. We're talking about these things that bring forth light, the action of making light. Again, we're looking at this is a verb. It's a thing that's happening. Light, not as if to say, I turned on the light and then there was light. I guess light would be what it is, but giving light. So the light gives light, so that the action of light coming is what we're looking at as far as this word or.
I didn't understand if you sensed it.
You know what a verb is the action, right? So there's an action, there's a thing that's happening, and there's a thing that is. So with light, we think about light, there's light in a room, which that's describing the thing, which is the light. But if we talk about the idea of the light bulb giving forth light, what is giving forth is the illumination or light in the action sense. Because we're thinking about a word that could actually be a verb and a noun, depending on how you're using it in a sentence. But we're talking about the idea of the giving of the light or shining. I guess that's a better way to think about it, because you think about it as the shine or to shine, you're thinking about the action portion of it. So we'll see some different ways that this word can be used on the next one here. Giving light, shining, enlightening, blinding, something that would be happening as a result of the light. Fiery furnace, as many examples. Go to the next one there. So if we look at Ezra 9 and 8, where it says, "But now, for a short while, favor has been shown from Yahweh our Elohim to leave us a remnant to escape and to give us a peg in his set apart place, that our Elohim might enlighten our eyes and give us a little reviving in our bondage." So again, we're talking about this action of bringing light to the situation, right? The action of bringing light to a situation. Okay, go to the next one. Ecclesiastes 8, verse 1. "Who is like a wise one, and who knows the meaning of a matter? A man's wisdom makes his face shine, and the hardness of his face is changed." So again, we're talking about the action of shining, but I want to think about the fact that this is there's a result. The shining is a result of something. Here it is the wisdom, right? The thing that's imparted in the man, which is the wisdom, is something that's causing him to shine. So when we think about this in terms of the blessing, and again, as we look at the entire blessing as being this thing that is progressing as it's going on, with the fact that first he said, "Yahweh bless you and keep you," and then now he's saying, let his face shine on you. Well, we didn't talk about the face yet, but the shine of the face. But when we look at it in the context of this particular verse here, we talk about the wisdom is the thing that makes the shine, the internal, the accumulation of the wisdom that was imparted into the man is causing the face to shine. So as we think about, again, connecting this back to the spirit, connecting it back to the word, connecting it back to the Torah, we're thinking about these things that we receive from the Most High are causing us not only to receive the shine, but also to shine ourselves. Okay, but here now we're talking about Yahweh's face actually is that thing that is shining. Yahweh, was what we just looked at. Yahweh Panav Alecha, which is Yahweh, Yod Hey Wah, Yahweh. Panav is his face. Panav is his face. His being Yahweh. Alecha is to you. So what we want to look at is Panav, which comes from the next one, Panim, which is the word face. Panim, face. The face. Panim. There you go to the next one. a masculine plural noun meaning face. Although the literal meaning of face is possible, which we see in some of these examples here, Genesis 43 and 31, Leviticus and First Kings, most of the time this word occurs in a figurative, idiomatic phrase. The face can be a substitute for the entire person. So when we're thinking about this face, we're not necessarily thinking about Yahweh causing his literal face like eyes, nose, and mouth and all of that, looking at us, but dealing with his what's that say in Exodus 33, 14, and 15? What verse is that?
It can be a reflection.
Exodus 33, 14, and 15. Exodus 33, verse 14 and 15.
And he said, my presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest. And he said unto him, this is
What's that verse? Those two verses
I'm
say
sorry.
14 and 15.
14, I started. And he said, my presence is Yahweh talking. My presence shall go with thee, and I will give thee rest. And he said unto him, if thy presence go not with me, carry us not up hence. So the second verse was Moses talking.
Okay, so presence is what word?
Presence is paneh,
Right,
which is the face.
right. So that right there is talking about Yahweh. Moses wants for the actual presence of Yahweh to lead them through the wilderness.
I just thought of something like how we say like a head count. When
Right.
we talk
I
about
don't.
head
Yeah.
count,
I want.
you know,
I want all of you to come. Don't just. You can't just send your head. You're dead, right? Somebody send your head to me. That's terrible, right? Because they killed you first, right? But we're thinking about the face again. Like this is talking about here figuratively or idiomatically speaking of the face and dealing with like when Yahweh spoke to Moses face to face. It's dealing with Yahweh's presence was really in. Well, yeah, but I'm saying that it was really kind of present with Moses. There was a intimacy that was there, and the best way that we could think about it is dealing with somebody face to face, right? Not as if Moses was looking at a actual face necessarily, but again, it's giving you that idea of the presence of the whole of the entire being represented by the face. So when we think about the idea of Yahweh's face or his substance or his presence shining on us, this is what we should be thinking about in terms of this idea that we see in the blessing, his presence shining on us, right? Yahweh causing his presence, his substance, his essence to illuminate us. Again, what are we talking about? We're talking about the spirit. We're talking about the Ruach HaKodesh. We're talking about, what we experience with the new covenant.
I was just thinking about how when you shine on something, it gets changed. There's heat and there's light and everything. So it's like whenever he shines upon you, you're really asking him to enact a change upon that person, or imparting his righteousness unto them. When Moses was in the presence of Yahweh, whenever he got in that afterglow, he got changed.
Afterglow. Yeah.
He got changed.
He was
by
walking
the
around shiny after that.
people had to tell him to
Because
cover up.
because of the fact that he experienced the shine himself, right? He experienced the presence of Yahweh himself, the face of Yahweh experienced it, the light. So when we think about this idea, you know, what we see in the blessing of the face of Yahweh, literally the face of Yahweh coming to us, the presence of Yahweh coming to us, you know, this is what the blessing is proclaiming.
So if he bends down to you, you know, well, his hand is going to bend down, but also his face.
Right.
You want
Right.
him to
So
bend
again,
down to
when we look at this thing as a whole and we see how it progressively grows, where he bends down,
you get his hand.
he offers us a gift with his hand.
Mhm.
And the gift that he's offering with his hand is his shining face.
But not his literal face.
Well, his presence.
Right. Because Moses asked to see his face, right?
Right.
And he told him.
Well, he asked to see his glory. So what he was getting was a kind of tempered version of his substance, but there was still a level of intimacy that was present between Moses and the Most High that no one could. It was unmatched.
Yeah, no one got that close.
I spoke to Moses face to face. And then you got over the Miriam and them sitting up here trying.
I speak to him too.
They act like they on the same level as Moses when they wasn't.
Y'all had to be like, hold on now.
Yeah, Moses wanted more than what he was already getting. But yes, it's all idiomatic, it's all figurative, it's giving you a picture, but we want to think about the picture that it's giving us in terms of, I mean, if you just think about it, it doesn't make any sense to talk about the fact that Yahweh kneels down and in his hand he has his face and he gives you his face, right?
I can see why, you know, a lot of people, you know, who, you know, skeptics who read the scripture are just like, man, there's all kind of, you know, things that are just what are they called? Contradictions.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it says no one ever seen his face, but then Moses spoke to him face to face. But they don't understand what it's talking about.
Right.
Because they don't understand the Hebraic concept of like it's like a poetic type of a thing.
Right.
You know.
And idioms.
It's idioms. It's not if they want a concrete thing, then yeah, it doesn't make sense. But if you're looking at it from the other standpoint.
Yeah, but nothing is concrete though. It ain't getting concrete nowhere. Everything is, you know, it's like everything is like a puzzle. You gotta put it together. Because if it wasn't, you know, life would be so much easier. You know what I mean? If you didn't have to, you know, put the pieces together.
Yeah, but we have all the pieces, right? And when we look at this, we break it all down, we're able to see what's going on, right? So he's
I was thinking about when about like Joseph whenever he was revealed to his brother.
Yeah.
And when we're talking about this whole Yahweh caused his face to shine, and how it wasn't enough for Israel, for Jacob to just hear that his son was alive. He wanted to actually see him, you know, see his face, you know, and just how, you know, for us, it shouldn't just be enough for us to hear about the Most High, hear about Yeshua, hear about the things he's done. We should want to actually see him. We should actually want to, we should want that shining from him that personal relationship with him. You know, it shouldn't be enough for us just to hear about it, but we should want to actually experience it. And I think that's kind of the whole shining his face part, is allowing us to experience his goodness and experience his presence.
That's exactly what it is. When you think about what the Aharonic blessing is, you know, at its essence, that's what we're dealing with. The way that we feel the shine of his face on us. If it's talking about let your face actually shine upon us. So let me actually experience the shine that comes from your face. Let me actually experience an intimacy that I receive only as the result of you know, us dealing with me, right? It's not about me just hearing about, you know, what your experience may be, but it actually being something that you literally experience on your own. Let the light of Yahweh's face actually shine on you. Okay, go to the next one. Okay, so when we look at this panah, we actually also see the idea of turning or changing of direction. When we think about, I remember when I was little, my grandma, she always wanted you to acknowledge that you heard her calling you. If she called you, it wasn't necessarily enough for you just to show up. I'm saying, like, if you're upstairs and she's downstairs, she wanted you to show up, but she wanted you to acknowledge, because in the in between, there's like this kind of this lag that's going on in between the time where she called you and you show up. She wanted you to acknowledge that you heard her, you know, on your way, coming, right? Or
it was yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
On the way,
yeah.
Right? And then come. Like, don't just say that and stay where you are. Right. Like, you're saying that on the way. Yeah. Right? So when we think about the idea of this word, panah, also includes that recognition. Or here we're looking at the changing of direction, as if now the focus now is being changed and turned and placed in a specific direction. So when we think about what's going on with Yahweh causing his face to shine on you, he's focusing in. He's focusing in on you. He's focusing in on your situation and honing in on you, right? So again, we have this idea of this intimacy thing again happening with this. It's not just like he's just kind of passively looking in your direction and you just happen to receive some light. That's, you know, it's about a focus and attention being placed on you. Okay, so the next part is Vikuneka. Vikuneka. And he be gracious to you. And he be gracious to you. So here again, when we talk about this idea of this progression that's happening in each line, right? The face is turning on you. The face is turning on you and shining on you. And then as a result of that, right? the thing that's added to that, to the face turning towards you and shining on you, is graciousness to you.
Not judgment.
Right. So again, the vav at the beginning is the and. The yod, which is next, is the he. And then the root is going to be here. It's just going to be those next two, the chet and the noon. The third and the fourth letters is the 2-letter root. Here, we go to the next one, which is Hanan. Hanan, which is gracious. Hanan. Primitive root, properly to bend or stoop. We see this thing that we saw before in terms of the blessing, in terms of the bending of the knee. Hanan is to bend or to stoop in kindness to an inferior. Right? So yeah, well, that's what we see here, right? With Yahweh, he's giving us, when we think about the favor of Yahweh, it's something that he's giving to us, right, who don't deserve it, right? He's bending down and giving us this favor, right? Bestowing it upon us, granting us with this mercy, pity, right? So we see all these things in this word here, Hanan, this graciousness. And again, we stop all that shaking. What are you doing? Okay, so Hanan, to bend down and stoop in kindness to an inferior. Okay, go to the next one. Okay, so we can look at a few of these examples here. Again, to be gracious toward, favor, or to have mercy on in the wisdom literature. This verb is used primarily with human relations to denote gracious acts towards someone in need. So what's it say in Job 19 and 21? This should be an example of human relations. What's that say?
Have pity on me, have pity upon me, have pity upon me. Oh, ye my friends, for the hand of Elohim hath touched me.
Okay, right. So that's just Job talking. He's talking to other people, right? Other people. That's all that is. It's translated. What version is that?
That's King James.
King James is translated as pity, but we're talking about favor, mercy, or someone potentially who's in a lowly state, down on his luck, and he wants people to treat him in a nice kind of a way.
I was thinking about I don't know if they talk about it in there, but in Psalm 123,
what it say?
Have mercy on us, Yahweh. Have mercy, for we have had our fill of contempt, more than our fill of scorn from the complacent and contempt from the arrogant. So
that would be in regards to the Most High, right? Having mercy on us, so we can see it either way in terms of some individual kind of in a lowly state who's asking for mercy from someone who is not in a lowly state. And then we see examples of man calling for mercy from the Most High, which is the same situation in terms of us in regards to the Most High. Of course, we are in this lowly state. So that's all we just wanted to look at in terms of that.
As far as normally when you're asking for mercy from someone else, that person has some kind of authority.
Yes.
Or some kind of ability.
Or they're in a higher position. If I did something to you, you have something on me. Think about it in kind of the when you think about people on death row, they seek clemency. They want mercy. They want a stay of execution, right? So they want mercy. They're in a position, they're in a certain position, and then that judge is going to be in, well, I guess they petition the governor in those situations where they want the, to stop the execution, but someone in a lower position seeking someone in a higher position to grant them clemency or favor or mercy. So this is the definition of this word Hanan. But so thinking about it in regards to the Aharonic blessing as it being the result of the face shining once Yahweh has turned and intentionally decided to shine his face on you. This is the thing that comes with it, right? This is the natural course of progression, which is his favor, which is Yahweh's mercy. When we think about us, if you're in a right relationship with the Most High, you're receiving his favor, because there's really nothing really that we can ever do to be according to our own power and our own strength. There's nothing that we can actually do to kind of put us in a right in good standing with the Most High, right?
To be his unmerited.
It's always his favor, just by a simple fact of him putting in place things that when I'm saying things, I'm talking about the Torah itself is mercy. The Torah itself is mercy because he showed this pitiful thing, humans, how to be, how he wants for us to be, right? So when we have a relationship with Yahweh, when he sets his face on us, when he sets his intentions on us, the result of him setting his intentions on us is favor. Why? Because the thing that comes with it is his leading us in a certain way, and that certain way that he's leading us in is a way that he likes. He told us what he likes, and he's giving us the way in order to walk that out. Okay, so go to the next one. Psalms 30 verse 7 says, Yahweh, in your good pleasure, you have made my mountain to stand strong. Now here's the opposite going on here. You hid your face and I was troubled, right? So this is an example of the negative, right? Of him turning his face. You hid your face and I was troubled. You took away the shine of your face. Your presence was absent from me, right? And that caused me to have problems, right? Right, so we want Yahweh's face to be turned towards us.
Even if like the sun stopped shining, we would, we'd be cold, like we'd be dead, Like if you think about it, like if the Most High stopped shining upon us, what's that going to leave you with? That's going to leave you with trouble. It's going to leave you with darkness, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to lead you with the absence of life, death, destruction. It's just crazy. That's just, the whole thought process, like that's what I'm saying, like it's so poetic, like it's his face shining, it's just like the sun shining, upon you. It's giving you that light, it's giving you that grace, that mercy.
Okay, go to the next one. Yisa, he lift. He lift. He, of course, is Yahweh. Yahweh is not in the word Yisa, but he, in the context of the sentence, he is referring to
Yeah.
Yahweh.
Say Yahweh.
He lift. Okay, go to the next one. So thinking about this idea of lifting, the word actually is nasa. Nasa.
Sounds like the flag.
To lift in a great variety of applications, literally and figuratively, absolutely and relatively, except advance, arise, to bear up, to cast. So think about casting or carrying away. Go to the next one. We're thinking about this idea of lifting here, the verb meaning to lift, to carry, take away. The verb is used almost 600 times in the Hebrew Bible and covers 3 distinct semantic ranges. We want to just deal with the first one. This is one that's relevant to what we're looking at here. The first range is to lift, which occurs in both literal in Genesis. And let's look at Genesis 7, verse 17. Genesis 7, verse 17. The idea of just lifting. A literal lifting. Seven 17.
And the flood was 40 days upon the earth, and the waters increased and bare up the ark, and it was lift up above the earth.
So that's talking about a literal lifting, right? So you think about what the water did to the boat was to lift it up, right? So we think about what to bear up, right? It took the ark and brought it to another position. That's the literal meaning. We think about it from a figurative perspective. The lifting of the head, which is what we look and thinking about again from a figurative perspective. And here we even talking about the face, right? So we think about the idea of the lifting of the face, because that's what's actually being lifted when we think about this. Yisa Yahweh Panav Alecha, again, the lifting of the face. So Yahweh again, so he's causing his face to shine upon us. He's causing his face to shine upon us, and he's also lifting his face.
He's bending and he's lifting.
He's doing all of these things. He's bending his knee. He's bending his knee. He's reaching out his hand out, and in his hand is his face that's shining. And then he's also lifting up. He's lifting up his face.
Face is his hand that's shining.
His face is in his hand.
That sounds like Pilates to me.
All around, putting his whole body into it.
So
The crazy thing is, people are rejecting that.
he's
all of that.
He's doing all of the work for you. He's making this thing so easy for you to take and accept. He's putting it in a package. He's tying it up, and he's giving it to you.
He said he's reaching down
That's
with his hand.
that's
His
what
face
it's
is in
saying.
his hand. He's lifting it
His
up.
face is shining in his
shining
hand.
in his hand. He's lifting it up.
And he's lifting it up. He's lifting up his face, right? That's because that's how he's lifting it up, right? That's how he's lifting it. Yahweh, again, Yahweh's face to you. So he's lifting his face. Yisa Yahweh Panav Alecha, and giving it to you.
That is crazy.
Via
Why I never see it like that?
Via
And giving it to
Semlaka.
you. So he's reaching down with his hand,
Boy, he's bending down with his knee.
bending down with his knee, has his hand out with his face shining in his hand.
Yes, with his
Lifting
face
it up.
in his hand, and the face is shining,
And he's giving it to you.
and he's lifting it up,
Giving it.
and he's giving it to you.
Wow.
and he gives it unto you. Vayesem lecha. So what we're looking at here is sum. Sum, which means to appoint, to bring, to call, to put, to change, to charge, to commit, to consider, to convey, to determine. The primary meaning of the verb is to put or to set or to place. The verb indicates that which Elohim put on the earth, as noted in Genesis, where Elohim put the man and woman that he formed in the garden. He's putting something somewhere, or in this case, he put them somewhere, right? The usage of the verb in this sense indicates Elohim's sovereignty over all creation, especially that of humankind. The word is used in Exodus in response to an interaction between Moses and Elohim, which Elohim gave a new decree and law to the Israelites. What's that to say in Exodus 15 and 25?
I got there. And he cried unto Yahweh, and Yahweh showed him a tree, which when he had cast into the waters were made sweet. There he made for them a statute and an ordinance, and there he proved them.
So is cast, what's cast in that?
Cast is Salah.
We're looking for
What are we looking for?
sum.
Oh, and he made is soon.
He made what?
He made for them a statute.
Okay, so he put it in place. He appointed it.
He appointed it.
He appointed it. Right. So when we think about something that Yahweh appoints, he sets it in order. He put it in place.
Like the king setting it in place.
Right. So in this setting, the verb again emphasizes Elohim's sovereignty, his ability to establish the order of things, and his ability to control the elements of nature and dis-ease. So when we think about the idea of Yahweh, again, lifting up his face and giving it to you, he is appointing his presence. He's bringing his presence. He's calling his presence to order in you.
Yeah.
Right? So we can look at this and clearly see a picture of what's going on with the new covenant, where he literally puts his decree in you. Right? He puts his law, statutes, and commands in you. He raises those up. He raises up his presence and offers it to you, and giving it to you, and appointing it to you, charging it to you. He's giving you this gift of that Ruach HaKodesh and appointing it as your new way of living, your new way of life.
I since the translation I say is give you peace. I never really thought about it as appointing it to you or charging it to you, because I don't know. I mean, it's the same thing as, to give something is really to appoint it.
Yeah, same thing.
But when I think about it as being appointing it to you, it's just like there's more authority behind it. It's like
it's a declaration.
It's a declaration.
But we didn't get to the peace. We're just dealing with the presence and the face that's
assigning it to me. It's like assigning it, like putting your name on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's saying, okay, this belongs to you.
Yeah.
So etching it.
Here, take this. It's yours.
And basically like how you put your name on your tools, you engrave it upon your tools.
Better not touch my
people
stuff.
Know that's your stuff.
Yeah.
It's
and
like
you see that on there, you know that's appointed to me.
That's appointed to you, so it's for you.
But here we're talking about the presence of the Most High is being appointed to you.
To you. it's like that's kind of, you know what I mean? Like that's really kind of crazy.
It's personal. It's intimate.
He's putting his presence and basically assigning that to you.
Take that.
What should set you aside.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it do.
And make
it
you,
does do that.
Different than
Yeah.
everything else.
Yeah.
Everything else, you're getting to be kind of like, you're getting this royal appointment upon you, and you're an inferior.
Royal treatment.
And you're not worthy of it. You're not,
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Right. So again, when we have that, go to the next one. We have this this light that shines on us, when we have this face that's being lifted up, the result of all of this, right? The end of the day, what we have here is shalom. Shalom is what we ended up with, right? Go to the next one. Shalom, safe, wellness, happiness, friendly, welfare, health, prosperity, peace, right? Wholeness. All of these things are incorporated in shalom. Shalom. Go to the next one. Masculine noun. Think about noun. This noun, shalom, is being kind of in the state of peace and tranquility, right? This Hebrew term is used 237 times in the Old Testament and is used to greet someone. You greet someone with peace. It was a way that's how we deal with each other. But we don't really think about what it is that we are saying all of the time when we do that. We kind of think about it in a way of saying peace to someone, but it's kind of more. There's a fuller understanding, I would say, than just kind of peace. We think about peace and tranquility. You think about just kind of just when you just kind of just in a state when you're just kind of just chilling. It's the best way that I can think about it. When you don't have worries, right? You're not worried about things. When you're like in a state, being in a state of peace, right?
I'm outside, just sitting, I'm having peace. No one yelling.
What?
He found his tranquility.
You know what? And that's exactly why I don't want him to have a journal. Okay, I don't want him to have a journal because I don't want him to write about stuff like that.
People like mommy disturbing his peace.
I know, asking him to do stuff. But I don't know if that definition is going to say that. But stop. But when you have protection, whenever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you have like, I don't want to say like, you have like an army or whatever surrounding you, or you have the Most High surrounding you, and there's nothing, you don't have to worry about something getting through the barbed wire and attacking you.
That's why when we think about this, we look at this as kind of a culminating point is the shalom. When we get to the place where there is peace, it's as a result of all the things that we've already received. It's not as if these things are kind of segmented and separated from each other. It's a culmination, and it adds up to at the end of the day as peace. Once we've received the gift from the Most High, once we receive that gift from on high, that gift that is the intimacy of Yahweh turning his face unto us and causing his essence and his goodness to actually shine on us, and not only having that thing kind of just in our kind of peripheral, but him actually lifting that up and offering it to us, and then appointing it to us and giving it to us, and the result of all of that being tranquility, being peace, being able to be in a state where you don't have worries. When we're able to trust that the Most High is able to keep us and hold us and secure us and actually be with us, the result of all of that is shalom. You look at Philippians, go to the next one. You look at Philippians 4, 6, and 7, where it says, "Do not worry at all, but in every matter, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to Elohim, and the peace of Elohim, the shalom of Elohim, which surpasses all understanding, shall guard your hearts and minds through Messiah." When we think about the peace of Elohim, which surpasses all understanding, that's dealing with the state that you are in when you understand and realize that the Most High is indeed leading and guiding your steps. When things around you actually cause for you to be up at arms, and the things around you actually cause for you to be worried about things, your surroundings would naturally call for this or that. The peace of Elohim surpasses the things that are around you and cause you to be able to, in spite of the things that are going on around you, to causing you to be able to just be at peace. So when we think about, again, the Aaronic blessing, saying all
because it's not the circumstances. The circumstances
doesn't have anything to do.
Don't have anything to do with the fact that the Most High is guarding you.
Exactly.
So the Most High is guarding you, then you don't have to worry about what the circumstances are, because that's why you have that peace that surpasses all understanding, because you're not concerned about the circumstances because of who's guarding.
Exactly. If I'm walking down the street with my pit bull, yeah, man. And not like you see these people walking down the street and the dog pulling them down the street. I'm talking about a well-trained pit bull, right? That's walking kind of beside me or maybe a little bit behind me, right? But he's on guard, right? So all these other little dogs that might be around, I'm not really concerned about these other dogs, because I got this dog who's gonna take care of any harm that's around me. When you have security on any level, you're not concerned with the adversities, because you have that security, whatever it is. When you go into a situation and whatever thing that causes you to have security when you go to the store and you just got paid and you're ready to go in the store and get all the things you need, you're not worried about necessarily putting stuff in your cart, because you have a certain security that's connected with the thing that's going to cause you to have the ability to complete the task. In that situation, it's the money at the store.
Or gas in the car.
You can drive wherever you want to go to. It doesn't matter.
From Erie,
I got a full tank of gas. I'm going to make it there. It's the same situation when you're dealing with the idea of Yahweh and his presence in and with you. He provides for us a security. and knowing that it doesn't matter what our situation is, don't matter where I'm going, I know that he is there with me, and it gives me this peace. It gives me ability to not be swayed by the things that I'm looking at. When you think about David facing the giant, when you think about the situation, the giant should have been able to
Crush him.
to just destroy little old
Step on
David,
him.
who was just a young lad.
He was holding back because he thought that he was the upper hand, so he was just holding back and laughing at him. Wow.
Because he was looking at reality.
And getting ready.
But David wasn't thinking about things from a reality standpoint.
Literally.
He was thinking about things in terms of the fact that the Most High is with him. Right? So when we think about the Aaronic blessing and that thing that is being bestowed on those who are receiving the blessing, the picture of it is the presence of Yahweh. It's the presence of Yahweh on you. And, you know, the thing that comes along with that, which is peace and security and safety. When we know that we have a genuine relationship with Yeshua, our master, there's a security that you know that is found in that relationship. And this is just something that we see in, again, looking at the Aaronic blessing and seeing all of the things that are incorporated in this blessing, and again how it relates to our relationship with the Most High. Okay.
And the appointing of what is given to us is that the shalom, or is that the result of the appointment? Is the appointment shalom?
I'm saying
Yahweh,
that,
and Yahweh appoints you peace.
I'm saying that yes, he's appointing you peace, but it's also a culmination of all the things that preceded it. So he's putting peace on you. He's putting his shalom on you, but that's not separated from all the things that he's previously done. It's all connected. And his appointment of the shalom is a result of
all
the things that have previously been done ahead of time.
So a lot of people, you know, due to their circumstances, let themselves be robbed of that peace. You know, they might be sick, or they might, you know, have a problem, you know, financially, and instead of, you know, casting that on him, you know what I mean, they allow what they're looking at to kind of like choke out that shalom.
Yeah.
And I think it causes a ripple effect in their lives, and maybe even leads to a little bit of rockiness in their belief system, you know. And so I think it's important that, you know, no matter what we go through, because we do go through a lot, the trials and tribulation, you know, we just need to, you know, rest assured that, you know, he has everything, and he has our back on everything, no matter what we're going through. We need to keep that peace.
Yeah.
And that's probably why the Aharonic blessing is spoken over people by Aaron, by the priest, is because when they're going through these things, that's why they need the blessing. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Right. So again,
it's not like he gives the blessing and it don't get spoken.
Going all the way back to where it begins. When you bless the people, this is how you bless them. When you bless the people, this is how you bless them. This is what you saying to the people.
This is how you bless.
This is how you bless.
How you do it.
Yes. So
and that's why people who are Israelites should be doing this. This is how they bless.
Exactly. This is how you bless. And when you think about this blessing that was given to the people, it's called the Aaronic blessing, but it's not as if it's a blessing unto Aaron. It was that what he was supposed to say to the people. This is what we are to receive. And again, if we are able to remember, if we're able to kind of realize what it is that Yahweh has done for us, you know, it causes us to be able to walk in this life victoriously, as opposed to Yahweh coming and bending down and having and trying to offer us this this precious gift and us just smacking it out of his hands. When we, as you said, when we allow our situations and our circumstances to dictate, you know, how we move throughout life, instead of, you know, what we receive from the Most High, essentially that's what we're doing. He's giving us the ability to be able to walk through life with Shalom, and we're taking that thing and stomping on it and throwing it away and turning away from it.
Knocking it out of his hand.
Exactly. Okay, so is there any other?
Do you think there's any, you know, the symmetricness of the blessing and the symmetry of the blessing and the adding and the building? I mean, you know, Christians said it's like a pyramid. A pyramid is normally built from the bottom up, but the Aharonic blessing is built from the top down, you know, where it's the top of the pyramid going down to the bottom base. Do you think there's any relevance to that?
Well, when you think about it, I wasn't thinking about it as a pyramid. I guess when you have it in that,
Christians brought up the word
when you
pyramid.
when you have it in that,
I'm
have it in that
back
kind
to
of
Christians
centered
said.
kind of a thing, when you think about it like that, you know,
Yahweh's in the center of that top part. You see that?
yeah, he's at the top
You see
and he's
how
at the center,
top?
and he's also, but you know, you have that stability, right, at the bottom.
The stability at the bottom.
Yeah, of a triangle, right, with a flat top. You know, the pyramid that Chris is trying to make it a pyramid, but
I ain't trying to make it.
He said, "You mean it's a pyramid?" Because
Well, you know the way it's set up. I mean, you know, you look at it, and then
if you got three on top, but then you got 5 on the bottom, which is 2 more, so you put 1 on each side, and then you got 7 on the underneath of the 5, which is 2 more, which is 1 on each side. So it's progressively growing as it goes down.
And then also you see how the YHWH moves. It's the second word of each one, so it's kind of like moving.
It's in each line.
Yahweh's
name is in each line.
Moving over in a symmetric way as well. A linear way. It's linear.
I think the fact that Yahweh's included in each statement, it grows. Each one's connected to each other, and at the end of the day, you have this foundation that's built that, you know, causes us to be on this steady.
It's a stable structure. It's a stable blessing.
Yeah.